The B&M Hyper. It's arguably the most well-rounded coaster model ever built. Sure, they're not the tallest, fastest, or the most intense. They typically lack ejector and never made from wood. Rarely is it anyone's number one, but almost always it's respected. Why? They're smooth. Those long hills seem to always peek over the trees. It's a familiar restraint that's comfortable and seems to always do work in the floater category. Capacity other rides could only dream of, and the only thing more dependable, a wood-burning stove. So when I heard Candymonium was coming to Hersheypark, I couldn't help but to be excited. I mean, yeah, there were a few models that would have been higher on my list, but for a park already packed with some of the strongest machines in the business, the B&M Hyper seemed to be the perfect fit. But did it live up to the hype? And how does it compare to its siblings? That's what I hope to answer today. It's part of an all-new $150 million expansion to the park that includes shopping, new restaurants, and a huge gift shop. Speaking of which, did anyone see any new and much-needed Skyrush gear? Maybe a coffee mug or a t-shirt, anything. I sure hope so. One of the first things you're going to notice is a brand new front entrance with Candymonium peeking from inside the gates. The only thing left from the old entrance are these 3 bricks that were claimed by the first ever Starbucks to open inside the park. Now, I love when a coaster has a great station, and this one is top notch. One of the things most people don't think about is that most of your park visits are going to be on a very hot day with tons of walking. So having a station like this will give you some time to cool off, and it's always fun looking around at all the effects that are built in. Okay, so for the ride itself, it features a 210-foot drop and it hits a max speed of 76 miles an hour, making it the tallest and fastest coaster in the park. But it's not by much, just 10 foot taller than Skyrush and only 1 mile an hour faster than Storm Runner. This is where the comparisons end though. Unlike the forceful and intense rides they provide, this one is more graceful while still packing in great moments of airtime. My ticket was just for a single ride on preview day, so the only seat I was able to experience was row 6 on the blue train. The air on the first drop was probably the strongest I've experienced on one of these hypers. I don't know if it was due to the trains being brand new or the fact it was over 90 degrees that day, but either way I loved it. So the second biggest surprise for me was this airtime hill that followed the first drop. Hands down the most sustained floater that I've experienced. It seemed to last forever. My previous best was probably this moment on Mako. The turnaround felt like what you would expect, and then we headed for the next hill. Now I'm not going to lie, this one left me a tad disappointed. The trims were pretty noticeable and it really lost a lot of its momentum. It's important to note I only got one ride and it may not always hit this hard. I think that loss of momentum took away from this smaller pop that I was really excited for, but it was still good though. At this moment I was thinking to myself, it's probably my second favorite B&M Hyper, but no way does it get the top spot. But then it threw a curveball at me and it delivered the dagger to Mako. I'm sorry, but this wave turn, paired with a near miss of that huge first drop support, was the single best element I've experienced on one of these coasters. The air on that moment was so fun, and just look at the shadows of the riders on that support. Going around that fountain was also really good, and I can only imagine how incredible it's going to look from both the coaster and the ground when it's finished. What a great way to finish off the ride. Just like most people, I've been guilty of overhyping a new ride. It's something about that fresh paint and those polished wheels. Bottom line, it looks, rides, and feels similar to other hypers that you've experienced. But that second hill, wave turn, and soon-to-be fountain will give it the edge over the others for me. Have you got a chance to ride Candymonium yet? If so, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if you were hoping to hear my thoughts on how it stacks up against other rides in the park, don't worry, I'll address that one soon. So if you haven't already, I hope you'll consider subscribing. Until then, thanks for watching.